Sailor Moon versus Madoka. Why are we debating these two animes? Because they're magical, fantastical. Sailor Moon's got a North American tour, musical tour that's going on right now. I think Madoka's got a new movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
So they're both iconic, groundbreaking, I'm sure. So what better way and better time to debate these animes with these two fine, upstanding debaters. Welcome to OTR Debate, the podcast where three lawyers debate the nerdiest of questions while trying to bring it back to the law. My name's Lando. We're debating these two animes. And taking the side of Sailor Moon, everyone, including listeners, watchers, give a big aloha to
Aloha.
Aloha, hello, not aloha, goodbye, like one that I'd like to give to the debater that's representing Madoka, Mucci.
Hello, goodbye. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello.
And I'm kidding, Mucci. I don't want you to leave.
My Beatles reference won you over?
Yeah, that was that's what it was. Before we get to the actual debate, let's hit the tape on how we got here. Andy, roll it. This is what it's like not being invited to the Magical Girl Convention. I'm just going to follow them around, but they're clearly ignoring me, just walking outside reading books. And great, we're just sitting down now at this point. 5 hours later, and they're passed out. At some point, Mucci did bring out his Magical Girl toys, but that was kind of weird, and we just doom-scrolled Magical Girl conspiracy theories until he found another book to compare to Mucci's. Okay, so now that we know how we got here, let's go to the format. Opening statements, followed by questions by me, the judge. Then we'll have a recess and get to closing arguments and a verdict. So if you guys are ready for opening statements, let me know. Good?
Ready?
Yeah. All right, let's go.
For decades, Sailor Moon has been honored as one of the most iconic anime series of all time, competing in popularity with Dragon Ball Z and One Piece. Even now, more than 30 years after its original debut on March 7th, 1992, Sailor Moon continues to be globally celebrated for its themes of friendship, love, and feminism.
Puella Magi Madoka Magica is a mouthful of a title for a series you can probably watch in its entirety in less time that it takes to figure out even how to say the title. The original series aired in 2011 and consists of only 12 episodes, but there have been 3 movies since and a 4th one coming out here in 2025 as of record. Madoka is a magical girl anime just like Sailor Moon, but serves as an incredibly dark deconstruction of the genre and packs so much into its 12 episodes but that by the time you finish it, you feel as if you've watched 100 episodes in terms of its content, its scope, and its narrative breadth. It seems to cover pretty much all of human history.
Okay, so I appreciate the 2 openings that I've heard. And for the listeners, viewers, if you like those openings, you agree with these nerdy guys, give us a subscribe, a like, and let's get to the first question. Guys, give me some key and compelling storylines from your shows. Do you want to start?
Sure. So, Sailor Moon follows the adventures of a teenage girl named Usagi Tsukino, or if you watch the original run back in the 90s, the English dub, you'll know her as Serena, which is what I'm most comfortable calling her. But for the sake of this recording, I will call her Usagi. She's a middle school student who...
and then he was uncomfortable the entire recording.
I'll try to hide it as much as I can. She acquires the supernatural power of the Pretty Guardian to fight off evil villains. And the Sailor Moon series was kind of a pioneer, or was the pioneer of this industry and this magical girl genre of anime. Basically, Usagi is reborn. She is in present-day Tokyo, and she discovers her destiny, basically, from this cat, Luna. Through this, she discovers other characters who are also reborn, mainly her soulmate, known as Tuxedo Mask as his alias.
It's my boy.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
Which in the new redub, they go by his Japanese name, Mamoru Chiba. But, I commonly know him as Darien from the original dub. She also, finds her Sailor Guardians. Ami Mizuno, who's Sailor Mercury, Rei Hino, who's Sailor Mars, Makoto Kino, who is Sailor Jupiter, and Minako Aino, who is Sailor Venus. And they together kind of uncover their memories from their past lives. They battle the Dark Kingdom. They find the Silver Crystal. All kinds of stuff, adventures that most middle schoolers do not experience, I think, in regular life. But ultimately, there's several arcs throughout the series, both in the original Sailor Moon series and the remake Sailor Moon Crystal, that is more closely telling the story of the manga. But ultimately, to save some time, I think the theme song of the original English dub encapsulates the whole plot and the whole intent of the show in a very few paragraphs. So I'll just recite it for you now.
Or sing it.
I'll recite it for you now. Fighting evil by moonlight, winning love by daylight, never running from a real fight, she is the one named Sailor Moon. She will never turn her back on her friends. She is always there to defend. She is the one on who we can depend. She is the one named Sailor Moon. And so, there are just...
That says it all.
Well done.
That's basically it. That's the show.
Okay, Mucci, what you got for me?
All right, yeah. So central to the storylines of Madoka are the sacrifices that have to be made to be a magical girl and the double-edged sword of the contract.
Be a magical girl.
Yeah, that's what they are. So they get whatever they wish they want granted, but it turns out it's like making a deal with the devil to get better at destiny. It's not what it seems.
Call back to our episode with Maddie.
Yeah. Okay. So the series starts with Madoka and one of her friends, Sayaka, who are enticed to become magical girls to give them the power to fight these witches in labyrinths where they have like their reign. It takes a darker turn 3 episodes in. So first it seems kind of cutesy, and it takes a darker turn about 3 episodes in where they're in a labyrinth with Mommy, who is kind of like their leader, magical girl. Mommy.
Okay. I wasn't sure if I heard you
Not
right.
Mommy.
Oh, wait, not Mommy?
Not Mommy.
Oh, what
No.
did you just say?
Mommy. Mami. I'm probably not saying it right.
Oh,
but-
okay.
Like Spanish.
Like,
Yeah.
Mommy.
So she's like a little bit...
We're saying the same thing.
More experienced. She's, speaking the same language, pretty much. But she seems to be their leader. She's kind of like leading the charge, and she's really powerful. But she's killed. And
Is she a muscle mommy?
She's not a mommy.
She's a soccer mom.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Well, I forget.
I'm intrigued. I'm
but yeah.
intrigued.
No, I forget what her ability really is, but it's pretty. It's cool. Anyway, she seems like she's winning the fight, but then she's killed and actually is beheaded by the witch.
Damn.
And all of a sudden, there's a different ending theme that's way darker, and it's really cool. So it kind of is the series really starting. But Madoka Kaname is the title character, or in the dub, I think her name is Venus Williams. Just kidding. But
Okay.
there's some debate over whether
I would have
she's
believed you.
There's been some debate over whether she's kind of considered to be the protagonist or whether it's another girl named Akame Homura. And co-creator Gen Orobuchi has even said he considers Homura to be the protagonist. So Homura is introduced in the first episode as a new student, and she's very serious and stern, and she is aggressively trying to stop Madoka from becoming a magical girl, from agreeing to the contract. But you don't really know why until episode 10, which is generally regarded as the peak episode of the show. It's called I Won't Rely on Anyone Anymore. It's the name of the episode. And it starts out by mirroring the first episode with a much more timid Homura also introducing herself to the class. And there's a more confident Madoka who shows her around, tries to boost her confidence. And then Homura gets trapped in a witch's labyrinth and ends up getting saved by Mami and Madoka, who is now a fully fledged magical girl. And it then does cut to Mami having been killed by the most powerful witch, Walpurgisnacht, and Madoka going on to fight her, and then Madoka dying. So Homura is just crying over Madoka's dead body, and she decides to form a contract with her wish being that she can meet Madoka again. So this gives her the ability to turn back time. So over and over again, she is trying to stop Madoka from dying, and it shows time and time again that she fails at this. So it puts the whole series into perspective, where you see that this is just one of those times where she's trying to stop Madoka from signing this contract because she doesn't want to see her die again.
So the whole thing starts off, that episode starts off basically in the past?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It starts off like...
Because Mommy was alive.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
it
she
starts
died
off
again.
like tons of like redos of the same time period over and over
Gotcha.
again, where Homura is trying to save Madoka. So it demonstrates why she's like a really badass fighter from episode 1, and why she's been so adamant about stopping Madoka from going through the contract. And one of the last alternate timelines shows Madoka becoming a magical girl to save Homura, and she becomes all powerful and ends up like one-shotting the witch Walpurgisnacht, and that leads to Madoka becoming the most powerful witch herself and being only 10 days from destroying the whole Earth. Homura goes back in time again to stop that from happening and says she will keep returning for as long as it takes to save Madoka. So this is kind of like where the show goes into some elements that are common to Sailor Moon in some ways. It's kind of like the history will say they're just good friends, but it's strongly implied that Homura has deep romantic feelings for Madoka, and it's further explored actually in the third movie, and maybe it will be explored in this fourth one. We'll see.
Okay. All right. So I think got a little bit of both shows, both animes. Sailor Moon, I'm a little bit more used to. Madoka, I haven't heard of any of this, and it's pretty interesting. But I think now's a good time for a recess. And what we're going to do today is we're going to play a segment called Quiet in Court. The premise being, in court, you got to shut the up. You can't be talking. There's got to be decorum. There's got to be silence. People need to know what's going on. In OTR debate, you guys are going to try to make me laugh. I'm the judge. You're going to make me laugh. All right, so we'll get... I'll give you 2 apiece. How about that? 2 apiece?
Yeah, that's
sound right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so let's start with Wee. Do you want to start first?
Sure.
And so if I do a giggle, then I guess you get a point.
Okay. Only you, right? So if Mucci starts giggling.
If he starts giggling, well, he's easy to make
Giggling
laugh.
during my own question.
Yeah, he's...
All right. Okay.
yeah.
What do you...
Stern face.
All right. What do you get when you cross a Sailor Scout with a barnyard animal?
I don't know.
Sailor Moo.
It's too early on. Okay, you got that one. Okay.
Thank you.
Mucci?
What happened to Mami when she got her exam results back?
Just the name makes you laugh.
She lost her head.
She did lose her head. I think the fact that her name was Mommy made
There's a
me
lot of
laugh.
heavy lifting there.
Yeah. Okay. 1 and 1.
Reset yourself.
All right.
Hold on, let me get serious here. All right. Because I'm going to get serious for this fucking episode. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
All right. 5 Sailor Scouts walk into a bar. They all get turned away because they're teenagers. I should have started with that one.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Mucci, this is make or break.
We'll take a deep breath on this one. Okay. The longest word in the English language is Pneumono Ultra Microscopic Silico Volcanoconiosis, which is still easier to say than Puella Magi Madoka Magica. Oh, 1-1. Okay.
I don't think you struggled with either of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I
it's
should
a
have struggled more in the second one.
We only had 2. Do you guys have another one?
No.
That's fine.
I
It's
used
a
my
tie.
Venus Williams one.
Okay, for my second question, I kind of think I know where this is going to go, but what has your show been influenced by, or what has your show influenced? Mucci?
Well, I want to start with a quote from comedian and podcaster Heather Ann Campbell, who has described Madoka as the Evangelion of magical girl shows, which I think is very accurate, and I'll remind the judge that Evangelion is a previous debate winner.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're Evangelion...
Were you that side?
No, I was not that side.
Okay, so you lost on that debate.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I give it up to it. Yeah, got to give it up. So where Evangelion adds darkness, realism, psychological, and philosophical depth to a mecha anime template, Madoka does the same thing for shows such as Sailor Moon, the magical girl template. So the writer Gen Orobochi got together with director Akiyuki Shinbo, who is regarded as having a very distinct visual style. And Orobochi was influenced himself by 3 of Shinbo's previous works in writing Madoka, and he is also influenced by Stephen King, showing the horror influence. Yeah. So the main antagonist of the series is a witch named Walpurgisnacht, and the upcoming movie subtitle is called Walpurgisnacht Rising. So this is based on the Christian feast day of the same German name, which commemorates Saint Walpurga, whom German Christians said to have fought against witchcraft. So that's kind of like where the series gets inspiration in the name of the most powerful witch. But really, the visual style of the anime is the most eye-popping and unique when it comes to the animation of the Witch's Labyrinths. And they were produced by an animation company called Gekidan Inu Curry, which means theatrical company Dog Curry. And the sequences were inspired by Czech and Russian animation styles. They're kind of like these surreal cut-up collages, and they're like sort of stop-motion-y. And they also have like a kind of like a contrasting background. It looks like weird and kind of like very visually striking. They look kind of like in what is it called Monty Python, Terry Gilliam's like little cutout animation and stuff like that, but a little bit less rudimentary than those. It looked really cool. And critic Jeff Berkshaw of Variety has described these sequences as reminiscent of Terry Gilliam's work from Monty Python, but they're like these really cool, creepy little cutout stop motion-y sequences.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Sailor Moon's characters are like middle school, right?
Middle school, high school.
Okay.
Yeah. And some college characters, but not the main ones.
Okay. So for Madoka, are they kind of around the same age group?
Yeah, pretty much the same age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right,
Yeah. So Sailor Moon has a lot of, it takes a lot of inspiration from a few different areas. So first, I think one of the things I'd like to talk about is Greek mythology. So it's kind of directly referenced where Sailor Pluto has the blood of Kronos because she's like the guardian of the time. But also actually the central romance in Sailor Moon between Serena and Darien or Mamoru and Usagi. It's really apparent actually if you take their past life names and their future, 3,000 years into the future names as well. So Endymion, which is Mamoru's name, is actually a Greek character in the myth of Selene, who is the moon goddess. And Selene obviously sounds like Serenity, which she's Queen Serenity or Neo Queen Serenity. And also Serenity in the past, and Serena. Yeah, exactly. So that's, the Greek mythology portion of that. It's also inspired by some Japanese folk tales as well. One of them called Taketori Monogatari, which is the tale of Princess Kaguya, or the tale of the bamboo cutter, which is from like the 1500s, about a newborn baby that's found in a bamboo stalk. And then a lot of stuff happens, but basically she reveals herself to be the moon goddess as well. And then finally, a Japanese TV show called Super Sentai, which, if you're not familiar, is from 1975 and is a superhero show that ultimately, when it came to the US, it was rebranded as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So that's kind of what inspired the premise of Sailor Moon. But as Mucci mentioned, she is the blueprint. She is the template. So Sailor Moon has countless of references in modern day media after Sailor Moon came out, from other anime like Bleach or Hunter x Hunter, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Pokemon even, or Tenchi Muyo and Yu Yu Hakusho. They either reference like
Pokemon,
like exactly. I'm sure there's characters that wear like the sailor outfit, the Sailor Scout outfit.
Okay.
It's like the poses, iconic poses that the Sailor Scouts do, and other references too. So not just Japanese media, but also Western media too. In like Archie comics and even the Justice League comic books, and then going on to TV on shows like Steven Universe, or maybe some more that our viewers might be super familiar with, like The Simpsons or South Park, even too. And then outside of just visual media,
But it's like you're making those ones up.
well, do you want specific?
No,
No,
South
no,
Park
no, that's
probably.
Well, for The Simpsons, there's just an opening scene where Lisa's dressed as Sailor Moon, and then for South Park, there is an episode where Kenny is gifted a familiar-looking medallion.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, okay, that.
Yeah, and so
He gave you receipts.
Yeah,
yeah, he becomes Princess
Called
Kenny.
him out on it.
He becomes
Princess
Princess
Kenny.
Kenny,
yeah, forget about that.
where he can fire rainbow beams from his hands.
Yeah.
So, you know, the references to Sailor Moon are endless, you know, and even beyond visual media only, it's also in audio media. There's a song called 1 Week by
Yes, ma'am.
We all know.
by the Bare Naked Ladies. So, you know, it just has influenced so much media after it came out in 1992. It's just iconic.
Okay. That sounds pretty iconic. I mean, if you get to The Simpsons, you probably made it. As always, our third question, legal question, why is your position legally better? Feel free to use circumstantial evidence, anything from the anime world or the real world to prove your point. Mucci?
Yeah, well, here I want to talk about contract law again, which are even more of a part of the show than in Chainsaw Man, I think. It's pretty much the driving force of the girls potentially getting their powers. This figure called Cube tells them they can get whatever wish they want if they agree to become magical girls. But that seems kind of too good to be true, right? They apparently get both powers and a wish granted without doing anything in return. Of course, it's not true. They are on a crash course of pain and suffering as the magical girls that eventually will turn them into these witches that they're fighting. And it's an endless cycle of girl becomes witch, and then the girls fight the witches. So this contract, let's talk about unconscionability. It's a defense against enforcement of a contract.
Yeah, catch all.
Yeah. And use it as a defense against a contract being enforced against you or a portion of that contract being enforced because either it's unfair or oppressive to a party, and that suggests there may be some abuses in the formation of it. So a contract can be both procedurally and substantively unconscionable. Procedural, it means that during contract formation, there's at least one party who does not have a fair or meaningful choice, or there's misrepresentation, or there's unequal bargaining power, or all those. And substantive means the contract unfairly benefits or harms one side. So I think both of the above are present. Cube is definitely misrepresenting what it means to be a magical girl. He tells them that they'll be fighting witches, which is true, but he does not let them know that they will eventually become those witches. So it's procedurally unconscionable due to misrepresentation, and substantively because it unfairly harms those girls, and really the whole world, to be honest. Also, the contract by its terms doesn't seem to have any consideration. Like, the way he's presenting to them, it sounds like they just get two gifts, essentially. But that's because he's not being honest about what he's offering. But it doesn't seem like he's giving up anything. So kind of consideration in there. But also, finally, tie into the law because there is this concept that Madoka creates called the law of cycles. And that's when she becomes an all-powerful magical girl. Her wish is that witches don't exist anymore, basically. So she approaches every magical girl in existence throughout all of human history. So she floats through time. Before they're about to become a witch, before they're about to give into despair and turn from a magical girl into a witch, she takes on like all their pain and suffering and absorbs it so they never have to become witches. That's the law of cycles.
Okay. All right. So we've got the law of cycles. All right, we.
Yeah. You know, it took me a while to think of some legal issues with Sailor Moon. And, you know, I kind of wanted to leave the real world legal issues in the real world and talk about some stuff that's happening in the anime itself. I guess with law of cycles, I will just compare that directly with the laws of gravity because, we're talking about different planets.
Okay.
Glad I opened the door.
Which, the laws of gravity obviously exist in the real world too, but there are certain scientific laws that don't really seem to translate, being that, these girls can breathe in outer space. But since, I'll get past those issues and highlight some criminal law issues for you since that is your area of expertise and interest.
Okay. I'm listening.
The first
Before.
the first criminal law issue I'd like to highlight, obviously, are all of the assault and battery. But besides that, they're
Just kicking everybody's ass.
yeah. And besides that, all of the love interests, as you somewhat alluded to earlier, with their ages, these are what look to be teenage girls, but are they really? Since they're reincarnations.
Okay.
And there's a season 2 arc where Chibi Usa from the future comes back to modern day Tokyo, and she really craves the attention of Mamoru, and Usagi gets very jealous. Later, it's revealed that she is their future daughter.
Okay.
When they go back to the future,
She's a little girl, right?
she is a little girl.
Okay.
However, she's over 900 years old. She just hasn't grown. Her body hasn't grown. But there was a brief plot point where the wise man influences her, and she does grow up into a somewhat older looking girl.
Still in their teens.
She looks like she's in her teens, but she's over 900 again.
Supposed to over
from then,
9,000.
she is no longer Chibi Usa. She is the Black Lady. But past Tuxedo Mask comes into the future. They share a kiss. It's fine because he's actually a teenager in present day Tokyo. She's, again, over 900 years old. The legal issue here is incest because that's her future father.
Yeah.
So, I have no solution for these legal issues. I just wanted to highlight them to pique your interest in criminal law.
I was starting to wonder if you were still in favor of your show. All those
I-
descriptions.
The reason, let me just, round this out. My show is legally better because it has more questionable legal issues for you to be interested in.
Okay. They're all kind of the same age as Yoda when Yoda died.
Is that
And
like
he-
around 1,000 years old?
Yeah, he was like 900 years old, I believe, in Return of the Jedi. And he just kind of like passes away of old age. But these are teens, I guess. Okay. All right,
No
interesting.
wrinkles.
Yeah, no wrinkles.
Yeah.
It's
Pure
because,
skin.
For Yoda.
peace and love and keeps you young.
Peace and love.
Yeah. Okay.
Ringo Starr.
Okay, so I heard why both of your positions you think are legally better. Give me a closing, attacking the other side, very briefly. Mucci, does we want to go first?
I think he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, as Mucci mentioned earlier, his anime is not like other magical girl animes, and I will agree. The show is very dark, and it could be interpreted that it promotes a negative view of female agency, because in his show, the girls that strive for power and independence are ultimately punished.
They're called witches.
It turned into witches.
Yeah. It's questionable. We make some good points there.
All right.
Mucci?
Well, I think Sailor Moon had its time to shine in the 90s, but its legacy is one of bad dubs, lots of filler, and repetitive storytelling. I mean, every big bad kind of wants the same thing, and the conflict tends to play out the same way. But really what's most frustrating in Sailor Moon are the fight sequences, which is just them calling out an attack and then some waves of light coming out and the enemy falling over. And contrast that to the Madoka fight sequences, as I mentioned, very visually dynamic and very stunning animations. And it's 12 episodes as opposed to 200 episodes. Much easier to watch, much more fulfilling story. Has a beginning, middle, and end, and it's over. And it's great.
Okay. I've heard the closings. I've heard your answers to my questions. I've got a verdict. I think tonight, for this episode, for these two magical girl animes, I think I'm going to give it to Mucci. Just because he kind of sold me at that last part. 12 episodes, really quick.
Yeah.
Get on with it.
Get on with it.
So, Mucci, I'm going to give it to your witches. And,
Not yet.
oh, they're not witches yet.
Yeah.
I'll give it to them. It sounds like an interesting anime. Sailor Moon, I've seen. It is some kind of repetitive ish.
Yeah, it's good.
I from what I remember of Sailor Moon, Tuxedo Mask was awesome. I used to like him a lot, but it is repetitive in the sense that like he was Tuxedo Mask, but then I also remember him being like another like variation of Tuxedo Mask.
King Endymion in the future.
In the future?
The white one, right?
Yes.
The white mask, yeah.
Yes. And I think there might have been also a past one too.
Prince Endymion.
Okay. So it just seemed very like, repetitive as you mentioned.
Life is repetitive. And
that
if
is
you're
true.
reborn as the same person with the same soulmate, it's going to repeat.
Yeah, that's true. And I will say, you know what? Now that I think about it, Mucci talked about episode number 1 and episode 10 being the exact same thing. So I can't really say that your episode or your show is not repetitive either, but I'll still give you the win.
Okay.
I won't respond. It's
All
fine.
right. Thanks.
All right. This has been OTR Debate.